K12 education is a mess. U.S. literacy rankings are in the bottom half of the world and are a hidden cause of the erosion of our very ability to effectively self-govern. How did we get here? America's teachers can tell you, and the answers will shock you. This is K12 Confidential.
Shawn, tell everybody about who we are, how we know each other.
Well, we are on our 21st year of marriage.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, we met way back in the early 2000s, and we were both sort of outcasts in that town, sort of weirdos, and sometimes we weirdos find each other, and we found each other, and even though there were a lot of problems out there, it still holds a close, a place in my heart, because it's where I met my wife. It's where we had a son. We forged a really good existence out there, but there came a time where the yearning for where I spent my youth was too strong, and we took a chance and moved out here, and it's been 15 years now.
Yeah, we've been here a long time. You may hear some little rugrat noise in the background. That is our new dog, Mo, M-O-E. There he is shaking himself. He is our new adopted rescue dog. We think he's part Shih Tzu, but he's definitely part Terrier, and he cannot be away from us. It's only his day 3 here in the house, and he's just a lot. He's a sensitive little punk like us, so he's got to be here with us, so you're going to hear little doggy noises in the background. What about what we value?
Our home is one that's definitely filled with love and beauty. And, I've always been a punk rocker at heart, even, now I'm a little older. And I take that spirit with me in most things that I do, and especially in the classroom. And in our family, us, our beautiful son, we always strive to do what's right. We always look for the truth of the matter. And, we're always fighting against injustice. Like, we use our positions to try to make this world better in real fundamental ways. And I think this podcast of ours is just sort of us sending out yet another signal into the universe to those of us who, maybe can connect with our message, who we are, what we're about, or want to know a little bit more about, education and our stance on it. So I'm really excited.
Me too. Thank you. Look, we're just rebellious teachers who speak up, and we are those teachers at our respective sites, because we don't teach at the same site or in the same district even, who get a little bit of that eye roll because we're kind of mucking up the yum, slowing things down because we're calling out things that don't work. And over the years, especially during COVID, like Shawn and I were each other's collab team. We were our department meetings because we were teaching in lockdown, in Zoom meetings, and we really only had each other. And so we really grew our understanding and knowledge of where all these basic problems are coming from, and really starting to develop a love and appreciation for all teachers, even the ones that don't like us and even the ones that we don't like. Love, because we're all part of this oppressed system together. So today we're going to provide another introduction to the messes. Previously, you heard my sister, who's also a regular guest host, come on and unpack it with us from a layperson's perspective. But as promised, we're always going to bring on an expert to follow up in each theme. So before we move on to the first theme, which is the teacher shortage mess, you're going to hear the two of us, experts, especially my husband, who's got another decade and then some on me in this profession, really unpack quickly each mess. So what can you expect from the podcast? Look, some of these episodes are going to have no video, and that's the deal with the ones with Shawn. He doesn't want to be in a video, but also I've recorded a ton ton of content that is audio only, and some of that is going to come out too. So sometimes you're going to see, if you prefer YouTube, sometimes you're going to see videos that only have still images. And other times you're going to see, people moving around, live video. So you can expect that, probably about half and half. And then you can expect 4 regular co-hosts. My sister Mandy, she's our lay person. You can expect to see her from time to time at the top of each thematic category, helping me make sure that we're explaining this to people who don't teach. Also, my fantastic husband, he is a badass. He has been my light and my salvation when I have been down in the dumps about this profession. He will be coming on. And you'll also hear from my dear, close, personal friend, Manuela Allen, who has equally, I think even a couple more years than Shawn. So those are the co-hosts you're going to hear on a regular basis, including myself. But then you're also going to have guests coming on, interviewing guests for each of those different messes that we're going to talk about briefly in just a moment. And there's a returning guest that I have on and throughout a few of the different themes, and that's Dr. Paul Bruno, who you're going to hear from really in the very next episode. Originally, I found his paper on the teacher shortage mess, and he came on and recorded a couple years ago about that, but he's going to come on and talk about other things too. He's amazing. So 4 co-hosts, teacher experts, and by the way, we need more teachers from around the country, from all levels, all political stripes, to come on. Please email us by reaching out on the website, K12confidential.com, if you want to come on and be a guest. Okay, so that's what you can expect, and including the fact that some of the identities are even concealed from some of our teacher guests who are experts because they don't want retaliation at their work site. We get it. Okay, so let's start by unpacking the messes. Each one, real quick. I didn't do it all with Mandy. I'm going to do it all with Shawn today. So the first mess is the most titillating mess. Can
I just say something real quick before we get going? I know it's been dragging me kicking and screaming to this microphone, and I appreciate your patience. And all I could say is that, sometimes the darkness of the universe kind of tells you to just sit still for a while and not, not do anything. And sometimes we, the dwellers of the dark, need a little light in our lives, and that's definitely you. Thank you for motivating me. I promise to keep trying.
Well, I mean, it's do or die time, isn't it, honey? It's bad, folks. It's really bad, and I never wanted to be anything other than 100% anonymous. I didn't even have a personal social media, and neither does Shawn. But this is it. This is our hope for the future. This is what we can do. This is us using our world, thinking globally, acting locally, to try to shore up democracy for future generations. That's what we can do. So that's why we're doing it. We're not getting paid. In fact, all of the expense for the podcast is coming out of our meager teacher salaries. Don't feel sorry for us, but do please listen. And thank you, honey, for that boost of confidence. Okay, so the teacher pay mess. This was one of the first areas, honey, that I started recording, back a couple years ago, because it's the one that is most titillating for teachers. We all know teachers don't make enough money. But so many of the things that we unpack in these messes is kind of more complicated and nuanced than that, because it's deeply more insidious. And in the episodes on that theme, we talk about what step and column is. And if you're a teacher, you're like, oh, I get a raise every year. Yay. Or I get a raise every few years. Yay. And what I've learned is that step and column looks wildly different from district to district to state. And sometimes, if you're not a teacher, you don't know what this means, but really you get a little bit closer to what I now call a complete salary each year you teach, and sometimes even as you add units. But it's all a freaking sham. No other profession starts out like this. I know that a local nurses union floated this, the management floated this to the union when they were on strike, and they're like, no, we're not starting out at less than half of a complete salary and taking over 20 years to get there. I really think it's important that we control the narrative and call that for what it is. So what do you want the listeners to know about step and column?
Well, I think it always surprises people when they hear how we get paid as teachers, and it is kind of a mystery because, you know, in the world outside of education, you get hired for a position, you put your resume, you do your interview, and you agree upon a salary at that moment. And that's generally people in the tech sector. They're making six figures sometimes, you know, right out of college. And I know that with, you know, other positions, other jobs out there, there's not there's the sort of Damocles kind of, you got to perform. You may be getting paid a lot, but you got to perform, or there's somebody waiting in line. So teaching, you know, we get paid, you know, but it's not like that in surrounding areas. A lot of people don't know that you can get paid this much in one district, and then the neighboring district is much less. And you factor in things like health care that we pay for.
That's right.
And other things. And a lot of young teachers are really surprised when they get their first paycheck after taxes, retirement, whatever the district forces you to pay for. Sometimes it's dental or vision, and then whatever medical plan that you pick. And a lot of people don't really realize that in order for us to go up the pay scale, we actually have to spend money. And I know people say, well, people out there with a higher degree who choose to get like a master's in business are more marketable and will get higher paying jobs, so it's kind of commensurate.
No.
But the reality is, you know, somebody getting a master's degree, that's maybe a couple years worth of their time. For people in school districts, it's not only money and time spent taking classes and units, but also years of service. For example, in my district, the pay scale tops out at year 27. So
Wait. 27. It takes 27 years to earn a complete salary. And that's only if you max out on units.
And when I started there, years ago, it was actually 30, and the union had to bargain that down.
Oh my God.
So that people start making their full salary at 27 years instead of having to wait till they're almost retired at 30 years to get that. And so, you know, it's really surprising to people that we have to sing for our supper so much. But when I first started teaching, it was, you know, you go to the local college, or you go to one maybe in the Bay Area, and you actually sign up for classes, and you go to classes and become a student and teach at the same time. So a lot of people like myself, once a family comes along and expenses come along, a house, that sort of thing, spending $350 a unit just seems a little less desirable. And you know, I waited a long time, almost 20 years, to finally top out. And it's, you know, I hustled my bustle the last couple years and finally topped out. But, you know, I'm only year 25 this year, so I still have a few more years.
Only. I love how you say only. Well, I mean, too, like, I think the thing that kind of blows people's minds is like, okay, once upon a time, there was a more comfortable cushion for people in this income bracket. Like, you could afford childcare. You could afford your medical plans. You could even buy a house, and you could save for your kids' college and even take care of your aging adults. That is not the case anymore. And you and I don't own a home, and we both have 2 teacher salaries. We don't make enough money to buy a home. And yeah, you need access to generational wealth to float teaching, because you're so freaking impoverished the first decade of teaching, right? You need a fresh supply of money from another earner.
Or a spouse who earns a wage doing something else. And
That's right. That's why it's for male privilege. Female teachers need a dude they're married to who's not a teacher to float this thing.
Well, and vice versa. I mean, I have plenty of friends whose spouses are not in education, and just the savings on medical benefits alone are astronomical.
$30,000 a year we pay for our family of 3 just for the premiums. $30,000.
Well, and the last thing I want to say is, and this is one that a lot of people don't know, in most professions, there is what's called a COLA, which is a cost of living increase that it should be automatic.
Amen.
And in most jobs it is. So the cost of living is very expensive. And what that's meant is that for years now, I've heard the figure 25 years, I've heard 30 years, I've heard just an astronomical number of years that districts all around California and our state have failed to meet just the simple COLA raise. So you hear, teachers bargaining for this percentage, trying to get raises. The COLA is not even factored into that. And I had a friend of mine who teaches economics put it this way, that, with let's say 27 years of lack of a COLA increase, even if it was just, a couple percentages of that 4 or 5% that it's supposed to be, the districts would owe us a 27% raise.
Yeah.
And they could never do it, so they've backed themselves into a corner, and they've reached a point where, sorry, it's like one of these multi-billion-dollar companies who are getting in trouble, claiming bankruptcy to get out of paying their fair share.